Sending my kids off to college. New fear unlocked. Great. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions, and it's about time we talk about the Idaho 4. 4 college students lost their lives, and at this point there's no leads, the weapon has not been found, there's no suspects. We're being told at this point by not just some of the victims' families, but with some of the law enforcement statements, that even though people are not technically being cleared, a lot of them are just being considered as not important, not involved in this whatsoever. And it's leading everyone to believe that this could be a really, really horribly serious situation. So let's get into what we already know about what has happened here, and then I have some questions. The Idaho 4 consists of 2 best friends, Kaylee and Maddie, who were both 21, and a boyfriend and girlfriend couple named Ethan and Xana, who were both 20. On the night of the 12th, they all hung out for a little bit at the house that they lived in on campus and decided to split ways for the night. Since the 2 girls were of drinking age, they decided to go into town to a club called Corner Club, while Ethan and Xana ended up going to a campus party that wasn't far from their house. Now, there are 2 other roommates that lived in this house with the victims that ended up not being victims and apparently not hearing anything that happened that night at all. They also split ways for the night with everyone else. I don't know where these 2 people went. This has been such a confusing case to try to get the names straight for, because there's so many J names. So we're going to go through all of the guys whose names start with J that have some sort of something to do with this case, so that we can all understand it, because this took me like a minute. I had to go through, figure it out for like hours. You're going to hear the name Jack D. Jack D, who is Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, who you are going to hear way more about as we get into the timeline. Jack K is someone who sent one of the victims, Ethan, a Venmo payment for some unknown reason around 10:40 p.m. So this could have been something that was sent to Ethan while they were at that party. This Jack guy might have been at the same house party. Maybe they ordered food and it was like his part of the something. I don't know. There's rumors going around now about this Venmo payment and what it might be, but unless I see proof that discussing something like that is necessary here, we're just not going to entertain it. Now for Mr. Controversial. This is Jack S. He is the hooded guy that was at the food truck with them. The other J name you're going to hear is not Jack, but Jake S, and that's Maddie's boyfriend. And again, the police do not believe that he is involved at this time. Now, it's said that after Kaylee and Maddie left the Corner Club, they went down to where this food truck was serving. And this food truck actually live streams their nights out on Twitch. So there's like footage of the girls ordering food, waiting around, and then leaving the little area. So you see Kaylee and Maddie walk up the concrete to the view of the cameras of the food truck off to, I'm going to say, this side of the screen. And it looks like whenever they step up that there is a male with them. Now, this male has been a controversial topic in this situation up until like recently. It just looked really strange. I watched the footage like over and over again, and I do agree, they look like they all like step up onto the sidewalk at the same time, but then the girls go up and order food and he just like hangs back by himself, and then he ends up meeting up with another guy and just talks to this guy the whole time and doesn't interact. I personally did not see him interact with the girls any other time until the very end. Now, when the girls go to leave, they leave the opposite direction. They come into view on this side. They come around, they're ordering food, and they're waiting like right here, and then they take off this way. Now, the guy, whenever he notices that they're taking off, he like looks over at them real quick, and then he points to them, and then kind of walks towards where they went, but then we see him actually veer the other direction and leave like not where a road is, kind of like he's going like through a parking lot or something off to the other side. He's been talked to by law enforcement, and he's not being considered as being involved in the situation at this time. His story is that he just walked the girls over there to make sure that they got home okay. If that's the truth, then it's possible that whenever he noticed them take off and he pointed and kind of walked their direction, maybe he was like, hey, is that your ride? Y'all are good. And they like yelled back, and then that's whenever that was his clue that his mission was accomplished of getting them safely home, I guess, and that's why he veered off the opposite direction. But the reason why he's so suspicious, besides the video, is that, as we do here on YouTube, some other creators had found his social media and found all these photos and dug up some information on it. Apparently not too long ago, this Jack got kicked out of his fraternity for having anger issues, and it's alleged that he got actually kicked out of the same club that the girls were at for apparently creeping people out. That's just what's going around. I don't know if that's actually true or not. But on top of that, what was found on his social media is that he's a hunter. So he would have weapons like the ones that has not been found in this case. But according to articles that we've been reading, he's been not cleared, but not considered relevant right now. I listened to an interview that Kaylee's sister did, and she states that per being able to go through some of the neighbors' Ring footage, that they found the Uber that brought the girls home after the food truck that night. But then on News Nation earlier today, I found a video where they said that it was a private party driver, and I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean that someone posted like, hey, if you need a ride, call me instead of Uber or Lyft? Because I see a lot of that like here in my area. Or was it a friend? And I don't think that we've heard how Ethan and Xana got home. And I know that they were at a campus party, but it is a little strange that they were at a completely different location than the girls were. And then they all apparently got back to the house at the exact same time at 1:45. The other two roommates got home around 1 o'clock. And they apparently just heard partying and like noise at one point and just locked their door and stayed inside their room because it's like a party house where people would come in and out. It was a college campus. So I've kind of wondered if maybe somebody picked them up and that person also had Ethan and Xana with them. And maybe it was someone giving all four of them a ride that they all knew. I don't know. At 2:26, Kaylee begins calling her ex-boyfriend Jack's phone repeatedly, 6 times within a few minutes. And then, I guess because those calls were unanswered, Maddie's phone then dials Jack's number 3 times, and there's no answer. The final call to Jack from the girls was from Kaylee's phone at 2:52 a.m. It's kind of important to me because according to the reports, the time that they're quoting that this all happened, where all 4 people's lives were lost, was between 3 and 4 a.m. So if both of the girls were awake enough to be back-to-back calling someone until 2:52, how were they asleep enough, even by 4 a.m., that's barely an hour, to be so completely zonked out to have not heard anything and been so out of it that this could have happened literally in their sleep? That's a very short amount of time to be zonked out that hard. I'm wondering what the toxicology reports are going to say. Now, there's not a 911 call until almost noon on the 13th. Apparently, the 2 surviving roommates didn't wake up until around that time. But instead of calling 911 themselves, the newest reports are stating that they actually called over some other friends first. These roommates' names are not being released, so we don't know whose phone was used and what other people were there. But law enforcement has confirmed that whenever they got to the scene, there were several other people there besides the 2 roommates. And apparently, dispatch talked to more than 1 person on this call. And the initial caller, while using the roommate's phone, is not stated to have actually been the person that the phone belonged to. So it's as if one of the friends that was called over used the roommate's phone to call 911, and pretty much everyone kind of took turns talking to dispatch. They haven't released anything in lieu of this phone call, and it is desperately wanting, but Who knows why they're not releasing it. It's got to be super important. It is interesting, though, that in the reports for this 911 call, it's an unconscious person that is reported. And what I'm reading is that Ethan is the one who is being quoted as being unresponsive, and the reason why the roommates called the friends over. But if you walked into a room and was calling someone's name, I'm going to assume, and they didn't respond, and then the girlfriend in the same room also wasn't responding, it's kind of strange they're using the word unconscious, because at this point, if he's not moving, she's obviously in the same room and she's not moving either. You haven't walked up to them by now and seen all of the blood everywhere? Because apparently the crime scene was so gruesome. There's a photo that is apparently blood leaking out of the wall. At least that's what people are believing that it is. Apparently there's photos of the same area of this house from a few weeks ago where this exact same drip stain is not there. And it just so happens to be the very back wall in the back house in the room that is believed to have been Ethan and Xana's. And again, as strange as it is that they used strange verbiage, allegedly, in this 911 call and didn't exactly call 911, but called other people over to taint the crime scene and wait longer for help to get there, the roommates are not being deemed as important to the case at this time. Nobody is. They don't know any damn thing. Cause of death for all four is homicide by stabbing. And apparently there was multiple wounds to the bodies, but for all four, the one that ended everything was a chest wound. For all of them. And according to Xana's father's interview, she had defensive wounds on her body. So it's interesting that all of this happened. There was apparently some sort of scuffle if Xana has defensive wounds, and the roommates didn't hear anything. Apparently there was also a dog there at the time named Murphy, and it's interesting that this dog didn't bark in order to wake the roommates up, or the roommates didn't hear the dog barking. I mean, it's almost as if the dog maybe knew the people that were in the house at the time of the attack, and maybe they didn't feel danger in order to have barked and alerted to anyone. But then whenever you hear of the defensive wounds, you'd have to wonder why the dog wouldn't have been alerted to the tenseness in the air. Because, you know, dogs react to everything. I know mine do. So the fact that the dog was quiet the whole time is strange to me. Now, back on September the 12th, there was a suspicious character on campus that caused enough alarm that the police department was informed of his presence. Apparently, around 8 o'clock that night, a white male wearing all black clothes with a baseball cap, a mountain bike, and a blue backpack apparently threatened a group of campus kids there with a knife. And what are we missing from this scene? Because one of my first questions is if this person's been interrogated about this situation, but no one knows who he is. Now, apparently, they've been able to collect quite a bit of evidence from the crime scene. There was plenty of it, apparently, to be collected. But we have no suspects, no leads in which way to look. And now we have another press conference coming up Wednesday at 1 o'clock on the 23rd. And a lot of people are speculating that this could be an announcement of something bigger. And that would be a very sad and scary situation, but would explain why we have absolutely no clues into what happened to these 4 kids. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see about the full toxicology, which, considering this was 4 people in one night, and everyone is assuming that just one person did this, and it was done silently without awakening the other 2 people in the home. That's a very scary thought. I guess we'll see what they say. See y'all.